that I just let him take it away from here. Hi, Jesse.
Hey, Goran. Yeah, we're also setting up the live stream right now, so that that this will be streamed live. Hey, Goran. Yeah, we're also setting up the live stream right now. So that's gonna go. 1 sec.
Sure.
There we go. So that's now set up. Yeah, welcome to this webinar. You guys should be able to see the big title screen there in on the left. First, before we start, a couple of things. We were going to have Ed today with us, who's a who has built an application. Sadly, due to personal circumstances, he had to let us know right before today's meeting that yeah, he can't make it, but he did allow us to show his application a little bit. So we're going to wing that. So you can have a laugh at me trying to explain his application today. So that's one thing. The second thing is what I usually do is when we get started, if there's anything that you want to ask, at the bottom of the screen, there's this little chat, raise hand, Q&A thing. If you have a question to us, use the Q&A button, because if you use that, it will come up in this little list for us and we won't forget it. If you use chat, it might get a little bit lost. And the second thing is, if we would ask you something, for example, hey, have you seen this before or anything like that, you can use the chat button there and that will open up the chat panel and you can type something there. Make sure that it says to everyone or to hosts and panelists. For those people that are currently on the live stream, if you want to join the webinar, you can use the link that you have. It should be in the post, because at the end of the webinar, you'll get something. If you stay till the end, we always have a gift for people that I'll come back to in a second. So let's see if everyone who's here actually has this chat thing going down. Because what we usually also do is we ask where people are from. We come live today from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Well, I am, at least. Gordon is not here. He's somewhere else. And I see that we have someone from Chicago. Yeah, that was my question indeed. Someone's already answering. This is superb. Like, we have people from all over the place. Would be really fun to hear where you're from. Montfort in the Netherlands. That's close by. The Philippines. This is nice. So yeah, we have a lot of people from all over the place again. I see Madrid. Cool. Yeah, so thank you. That's good to see, and also that you found a button, which is also nice. Okay, so as I said, for today, we'll talk about a couple of things. The first thing is that we will show you a real life example of a multi-tenant SaaS. Now, for those that don't know what multi-tenant is, because it's kind of a technical word, it basically means that there's multiple customers in your application and their data is separate from them, from each other. So let's say you have an application which has projects for companies, and those companies, you only want those companies to see their own projects and not each other's projects, right? So if Goran, for example, would be the owner of one of the companies, he would only see his projects. And if I were the owner of another one, then I would only see mine. That's the idea behind it. So that is a multi-tenant and software as a service, you know. And then we'll show you an easy way to make a multi-tenant application using Triggre, obviously. And then third, we'll have a special offer to get you started with multi-tenant applications, either as a partner or if you want to get started for yourself. I'll explain some of the deals on how we can do that. Also, as promised, a gift. If you stay to the end of the webinar, we have what is an ebook called The World of Udi. It's the ultimate guide to building your own software, and it's written by one of our partners, Bouwe Koopal. It's an atlas, and it describes in a really entertaining way, sort of like the differences between traditional software development on the one hand, and how you can integrate these things with no code or low code, and what the differences are, what the pitfalls are, in a really graphic way. It's a really fun and a complete illustration of how software has developed over the years and which, let's say, flavors there are these days. So make sure that you stick around until the end, and you'll receive this via mail. A little bit about me then. I'm Jesse. I'm the co-founder. I handle the product and marketing here at Triggre. I have a master's in software engineering. I have founded my first company when I was 19, and I've founded 3 companies since then, Triggre being one of the current ones. Yeah, we've in all those companies, I've basically serviced customers from enterprise through SMB, so people who work for companies with like tens of thousands of people, to all the way through those that actually hired their first employee. Yeah, that's basically the range that I've been working with, which is nice. Ed, who is going to be there here, I do still want to introduce him. He's a software entrepreneur. Previously, he was the CIO at Bank in the Netherlands. That was an online digital bank. He was manager ICT at several other companies. Before that, a senior IT auditor, which is also what his application is about a little bit. And he is a database specialist when it comes down to the technical background that he has. So that's a little bit about him. He's been a partner and user of Triggre for a while now. He's also worked with several other customers, actually, of ours. So he knows his way around Triggre, which is why we asked him today. Sadly, like I said, due to personal circumstances, he couldn't be here. But luckily, we're able to show his application a little bit. So for those of you who don't know Triggre, a little bit of a background. My co-founder Mark and I, we started Triggre because we were completely fed up with the discussions with development teams, to be honest. Like, you have to build something for the business, and then you go to your development team and they do their best effort to build it. And then requirements have changed, or it wasn't exactly what they meant, or, all these things, and you go back and forth. And we thought, can't they build these applications themselves? Isn't there like any way that they can themselves build these more complex workflows? Well, there wasn't. Being entrepreneurs, we thought, you know what, let's do this ourselves. And that turned out to be quite a journey. But today, Triggre is being used by more and more small, medium-sized companies around the globe. Also, there are a couple of bigger companies that use it, but you have to imagine that it's departments that use it, and then it grew slowly into bigger companies. But we are by no means an enterprise level company in terms of pricing. But when it comes down to the functionality, Triggre is really capable of the enterprise level applications. So the application that we're going to look at made by Ed is a application. This is a screenshot of the designer, the Triggre designer of his application. So this is something that he built. I have no idea what it all means, but it's his application. And what he built is a system in which his customers can do audits and manage risk. So it's a risk management application that he has used to basically allow his companies or his customers to show like, okay, what are the risks? What's the impact? What are the impact? What are the let's say the measures that we've taken in order to prevent it, or do we just accept this risk? So this is how sort of the ISO risk management stuff works. Yeah, indeed, Ramona says, looks like InsurTech. You get it. Totally get it. I bet you do. Ramona is, I know Ramona, she is in InsurTech, and she understands this stuff. But for those who don't know that, like, let's say a risk that you would have every day is, for example, the risk that you would forget your key at home, right? You'd lock yourself out. Everyone knows this risk. So you leave your key at home and you close the door. I've been there many times myself, trust me. You close the door and you go like, uh-oh, it happened. And for some of us, it happened again. So you're there, and then, what are you going to do? What's the impact? Well, let's say that you have to get a locksmith to break down the lock and open the door. Then the impact is, I don't know, like maybe $100 or something. If, however, you've taken a measure of making sure that your neighbor has your key, the impact might be a lot less, just having to go by your neighbor. So this is how you sort of mitigate risk in a really small world example of you forgetting your key. And you can imagine that these things can also happen in larger contexts. So, for example, one of the things that we have to deal with in our ISO processes is what happens if someone hacks one of the computers of our employees, right? Let's say that happens. How far into your system can they come, and what sort of measures do you take to prevent that from happening, or to make it at least so that when they get in, that they can't get far, or that you detect it early? Those kinds of things are what that is. So I hope that gives you a bit of a clear image of what it is, and I'll open the screen of the application so that we can take a look at that. Let's see, this, I have to log in for a second, and then I'll share it on the screen. Copy this, and there we go. Boom. Okay, so there's in this version there's no data. Ed was going to show you this with data, but the idea here is I have access now with this account to all the menus. You can set up roles to show parts of these, but the thing that I wanted to in a moment look at is the structure. So he has made this structure where he uses companies who then have their own risk management. So just like we said, so a user belongs to a company, and he calls an organization, and they can even have departments, I think. So there's like levels to that, right? So you have a user belongs to a department of an organization, and in that sense, they should only see either things that are shared among the organization or things that are shared among the departments. So in this way, how you can, you can, like I said, it's empty. Ed was going to do this, but the idea here is that if you're a user, right, you only see those things that you are allowed to see. So if I would go to my risk management and I will go like enterprise risks, then this screen would only show my company's risks. And like I said, you have operational risks, you have other things, and for example, findings. So there can be findings. So let's say someone comes live with you and they say, have you ever thought about the fact that you might lose your key and lock yourself out, or you leave your key inside, and you go, oh, that's a new finding, right? I've not really thought about this yet. So what you can then do is, in that sense, you can then say, okay, we have a new finding. You can obviously do recommendations for these things in his application, and this will only be shown to you. Now, we won't go into his application necessarily that much, but this is an application that's actually being used by companies to manage this risk. So what does that look like at the back end? So this one, the new findings, I'll show you how Ed made it in his application. So this is how Triggre works. Triggre has a structure, for those that haven't seen it, which basically uses appearance, which is the menu structure. So here you see all those menus. We see here those enterprise risks and operational risks and the findings and issues. And then you have in the menu something that we call new findings in this case, and this is a user flow. user flows are basically a combination of user interface and a little bit of workflow. So it's a combination of processes and let's say screens or pages that the user can see. And those processes are then called flow parts, which you can use both in your user flows and in your automation flows. So if we take a look at that new findings, I'll do it like this because this is faster. So you have new findings, right? And then how I noticed that Ed does that is he first runs some processing when you get here, but then a new findings overview, that's the first screen that we see. So the user basically travels along this path. And in this overview, what he has done is he basically shows a whole table of these of the findings. And he says, okay, I have this data from my application, and you'll see that here, I'll show you that he has an issue, which he calls a finding. And he applies a filter to that, right? Because you want to only show certain data that is linked to your organization, and that's what you'll see here. He says, like, look, the current user that is logged in, their organization should be the same as the organization that the issue is linked to, right? So this is a way to filter that. And then he adds some more things like what the issue status should be actual and some further filterings. But this is how he does that. Now, you may say, like, yeah, this is all nice, like it's a fairly complex application. That is true. How do I make this myself? Well, I'll show you in a second how that works. But first, let's take a look at the data, because obviously, like I said, Ed is very much a database expert, as you can see here, right? So many lines and things. Luckily here also we can search, so I'll show you really quickly that we'll have a user, and a user has here somewhere an organization linked to them, right? So basically what it says is that each user has an organization that they are linked to, and that is what we'll need to filter on that. So again, the structure here is you have your user that logs in. That's a built-in thing in our platform. They belong to a company or a customer, whatever you want to call it, organization. And then you have some item, in this case a finding, that is linked to that organization so that you can easily filter the data that you show. Now, more interesting, obviously, and then seeing how Ed made this insane complex application over time is how quickly you can build it yourself, right? So I'll switch now to a designer screen that is my designer. Here you go, see, Jesse Meijers, that's me. So this is mine. I've actually made it so it's empty. See, it only has user. It's a little bit less complicated than Ed's application. And other than that, there's just simply nothing here yet. So there's nothing in this application, completely empty. So we're going to build this from scratch completely. Now we'll start with the data, like I said. So multi-tenant applications, right? They have to filter the data into what is each company. So let's say it's a company in this case. Each company's item. So let's say that we have a company, right? So we'll create a data item called company, which means that we can store companies in our application. And with that, what we'll do is then we will just give the company a name, because that's just handy, right? So I'll just say any text name. There we go. So you can add more things, but for now, let's keep it as simple as possible. We have a name and a company. And what we'll also do is we'll say, you know what, this company will have users, or in other words, a user, which is built in, will be linked to a company. I'll do that from user. So we'll say here, we'll add a reference to another data item. So this is how you make sort of a relational database for those that have a little bit of technical knowledge, but for those that don't, this is how, if you have two things, that you sort of link them to each other, right? This is why it's a little link. So here we go. Let's say that we want to link it to company, and we'll say that it is simply called my, or just company. Let's just call it company. There we go. And then Triggre will ask you, so one user can have one or more than one company. So how does it relate? Well, a single user can only have one company. We could also choose that it has more than one. In this case, we'll choose one because we want to have one user belong to one company for now. If we do that, then the next question is vice versa. Company can have one or more than one user. Well, a company can definitely have more users. I mean, let's say that Gordon and I would be users of the same company. Then we should both be able to see whatever the company's items are, findings or tasks, or no matter what you call it, that we should both be able to see. So we're going to say that one company can have more than one user. And then it says like, okay, so in company, we'll also need to name this. So we'll call it users in this case. And then what you see is that a line, one of which you saw 1,000 ones in Ed's application, because he's linked many more things. But here you see that you have a company which has users, which is a user list, and each user has a company, right? So that's how it links to each other. So what we'll do now is we'll add something that the company will want to track, and we're going to keep it super simple. We're going to say task, because everyone understands probably what a task is. So I have task. And what we'll do with the task is we'll just give it a short description, just so we can, add something there. We'll say a, I don't know, a status. Like a little status here. So say like this is a new task, right? Or it's in progress, or it's completed, or it's canceled, for example. There we go. So we'll now have a status. Status. There we go. And we'll link this to a company, right? So we'll go here and we'll say, okay, again, reference linking to things. So we want to link a task to a company. And we'll say here also company. And we say, okay, one task can have one company. Yes, but we say one company can have more than one task. We'll call it tasks. And then you see another line where this, again, it links to company. And over here, it links from tasks, which is a list of tasks, to the task. What we'll now first do is we'll do oh, by the way, Gordon, I'm not sure if you saw it, but someone really likes your background, and I agree. It's awesome.
Thank you. I'll let you know the name of the author later on. You have to stick to the end, by the way.
So sorry, my eye fell on the comment. I was like, oh yeah, I agree with this one. So the first thing that we will do is we will actually make some management screens to add a company, to add tasks, etc. So we'll go to user flows to make some of these workflows. And Triggre has some really handy built-in wizards. One that we're going to use now is the overview, add, edit, and delete. Others are, for example, Excel import, roles and permissions, and user management, which we'll use in a sec. But right now, let's go for this one. And what we can do here is just really quickly create these screens that have an overview. You can add tasks, remove tasks, edit tasks, or companies, for example. So we'll make one for both. So we'll start with task, click next, and it says like, look, which properties do you want to show, right? So we'll just show everything that we have because it's super simple. And then it says company, how do you want that to show, right? Because it's that link between these things. So the handiest thing, and this is why we gave it a name, is to show the name of the company for now. And we want to be able to add, edit, and delete tasks. So that's what we're going to do. I think that we'll do something like this in terms of ordering. We'll order it, we'll just random is fine. Let's call this all tasks. So what we have now is what's called a user flow, like I said, and it's similar to the one that I showed you in Ed's application, but it's a little bit less complicated. So it's basically an overview. You can add tasks, it will create it in your data, and you come back to the overview screen. So I'll make another one of these for company as well. Very simple. I'll do a little bit faster this time because I've just explained how it works. So here we go. Task is a reference, we'll do it by description, name. Fine. Now we have another one, and we'll add user management. And then we have all the data that we have in our system. We have it covered. So we'll do that one. See all the fields. That's okay. That's good. Same deal applies, and call it user management, or let's say all user. Keep it the same. And then the only thing that we have to do here is add this to a menu. So I'll say, I don't know, webinar as a menu, and then admin, and I'll add these things to it. So we'll add our all companies, we'll add our all tasks, and we'll add our all users just quickly. And I'll show you that this works, and then we'll make that multi-tenant stream that I've been promising you. But first, we want to set up this so that you can see how quickly from scratch you can really build this. I have a lot of environments here because I give many demos, but we'll publish here for today. Now, for those that are interested and haven't seen this maybe, or haven't seen a webinar before of us, Triggre really builds software. So it takes that design that we've made and it actually programs it. So it's like typing away there. And it then publishes that into our cloud infrastructure so that you can access your application. So it creates a real database, creates real pages, scripts, compiles those, the code for the parts that are necessarily that are necessary to compile, and then it publishes it all in like super short time. Now I should have an application that is on our lab. Here we go. First load will take a sec because we just published, but this application pretty much, it shows me the company overview. So, oh, wait, let's see if we can use a different one because that might work better. Let me publish to this one. I have a lot of applications, so I sometimes have to figure out which one I've been testing stuff with, but it goes fairly quickly. So I'll just do this again. This is also the beauty of Triggre, by the way. So if you have an application and you make some changes, like we'll do in a sec, you can actually just overwrite them and it will keep the data that you already have in your application. So it's you can sort of really easily build step by step on your application. So you don't have to do everything at once. But you can just do it step by step. So again, the idea is
Ed didn't make it from scratch, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have to build the entire thing all at once. You can also use one of the many templates that we have that are already pre-built for multi-tenancy, some of them. So there's definitely no need to do it from scratch. But it's interesting, I think, to see how powerful that is. So we use demo 2. Let's go there. And I hope that I remember my account here, so we'll see. Okay, yeah, this has a different design, but you can see now that we have all companies, all tasks, and all users in the left. So the user is me. Hello, see. We'll have all companies here, so we'll add a company called, let's say, Codemap. We'll have no users and no tasks. There we go. And now if we take my user and we edit it, we can say that I belong to Codemap. There we go. We'll add a little task. So task that is, I don't know, new. Go do webinar. something like that, and we'll link it to the Codemap company. Done. And just in case that we show, we'll use this one. Name is other user. Go. And we'll also add another company, not Codemap. So we have two companies, Codemap and not Codemap, and we'll make this other user a part of the not Codemap, right? So we should be able to not see tasks in a moment when we add the other thing. This is a hidden task for not Codemap. Status is in progress, and we'll see this one. So we have two of these tasks, and right now we can see everything, but in our multi-tenant screen, we want to only see the ones that are linked to my account. So that's something that we're going to build in the designer quickly. So this is the designer again. We're going to go into our user flow. So I'm going to build one that shows only those tasks. And to do that, I'm going to start one from scratch, completely empty, and we'll call it my tasks or something. And what we do here, and I think that you'll see how powerful it is, we'll just add a page. So just simply one page that says my tasks. And then on that page, we'll just show very simple, just one table, just to show you how that works. And remember how, if you paid really close attention, you might have seen this. So Ed used data from a data item, and you can do that, and then you can manually add a filter. But there's an easier way, and this is why we have this webinar today. You can say data from the user flow, and in this user flow, every time that you have some data, you can use it and show it on screens. This is a very powerful concept, but we don't have a lot yet. But we have one thing, and that one thing is the current user, right? So what we can do is, since we've linked that current user to a company, we can then say from that company, I want to have all the tasks. So this is how easy it is. You can just say like, okay, so I want to have the linked tasks to that company. What do you want to show in that table? Just status, description. Now let's do the company name. It's always going to be yours, but let's show it to really make sure that it works. This one I'll call it company. And there we go. Now, so this screen will only show tasks that are basically linked to the company that I am linked to. So we'll add here task, and under it we will add my tasks, and that is it. And we'll publish this to where were we? Here, 5 minutes. Yeah, things like this. So we'll upgrade this. The data stays intact, but we've just added that screen that will only show my tasks. And if you would build on this, you could add, for example, very simply, multiple roles. So an admin role that has access to all the tasks in all the companies, but then every other user you would give them basically access to only the my tasks screen. Ramona asks Goran if you can info, yeah, then that would be good. Okay, so we'll refresh our application, and we'll have a new option in the menu that should only show the do webinar, but not the other task, right? So all tasks will show both, but then my tasks only shows this one. And obviously, you can really you can sort of extrapolate on this, right? You don't have to only do this with tasks. You can link all the things that are linked to the company, anything from users, tasks, projects, you name it. You can very easily filter them out in this way on screens and in processes as well, because they're linked. So this is how you can really easily make your own multi-tenant system, which basically means that you can really easily build your own SaaS application, because And this is also one of the things that, well, Ramona is also in the chat, but is doing. Like, you can build your own platform that you can sell subscriptions. You can determine your own pricing, and still on the back end with us, you pay your action-based pricing that we have. So basically, the more users you have, the more sort of margin you'll make with that, because actions obviously with us also become cheaper as you get more of them. So what you can build with this is your own application that you can sell to your customers. For example, like Ed does with the auditing, but you can also think of one of the people that we know has built an application where he actually he sells access to it on a monthly basis for investment. Well, I wouldn't say it's tips, but he basically aggregates moments where you can buy in or buy out of certain cryptocurrencies, for example. That's a thing that he likes to do, and he sells that as a SaaS. And so we have multiple people that actually built systems like that. Couldn't show you that one today because of the nature of the content in there, but that's a thing that you can build, right? So where's my screen? I guess this will work. Yeah, so basically to quickly summarize what we've done is we've really quickly set it up. Well, 10 minutes I didn't make, but we've set up the data structure where you link things to a user and then to, let's say, company, organization, and then anything that you link to that organization, because it's linked to the user, you can basically filter on it, you can play around with it, you can show everything that's linked to that in a really simple way, which opens up a lot of options. So we have some time for question and answers. I already see here, anonymous attendee. Does the user of the app need to have a Triggre account? Nope, they don't. The user management in your application is actually a standalone thing. So you can also grant people with a Triggre account access to your application if you want that. You can turn that on or off, but you have your own user management. So your user management is email and password. So if you add a user with email and password, they will actually get an invite email. If they click that, their account gets activated, they can log into your application. And this is actually separated per environment, right? So our paid, all of our paid subscriptions come with a main environment and a labs for testing, but we separate those user databases so that you can actually use your lab for testing and maybe have some beta users that you want to show some things to. And then when it works, you can publish that to main, and then all your users have access to that. So no, not all of the users have to have a Triggre account, luckily. Let's see. If there's other questions, I'll answer them. Yep, raised hand. Oh, I've missed that. Yep, Hans, can you type your question here in the chat now is fine, or in the Q&A section if you would like that. That would be helpful, and I'll read it up and I'll answer it. There's another question I see. Hi, yes, will the software scale up automatically? Yes, it will. So two ways of scaling. One is obviously performance-wise. We scale our infrastructure automatically with your application. The other is that the number of actions per month that you buy from us, let's say that you buy 10,000 or something, and you sort of are close to running out, you'll get an email, but we automatically upgrade you. And we do this to make sure that you don't, the alternative is that we pause your application, which would not be good. but we'll email you when you run close to that so that you know that we do that. And when we do that, we'll send you another email. So it also upgrades automatically in terms of tiers, so that you are always sure that you actually have your application running, but it will definitely scale up. And we have users with like, what's the largest? I think something like 150 million records or something in the table. So in terms of scale, it will definitely handle scale. Yeah, it's quite crazy, but it can handle the scale. Yes. Let's see. Hans, you had your hand raised, but I don't see if there's a question. So if you're typing, cool, I'll read it up and answer it. I see there's another question here. There's also an option for the users to probably cancel or end their subscription to the app. Is that right? We can also create a flow for that. Yes, you can. So we don't have, in Triggre itself, we don't have a subscription module like that. Fun fact, we do our own subscriptions in a Triggre application, but you can definitely do that. So there's a lot of, I think Recurly is fairly popular, and there's other platforms that you can use to manage your subscriptions. And what you can simply do is, for example, if you have that on your website, for example, if you use, I don't know, like WooCommerce or something else, Triggre connects to Zapier really easily. So what you can do is just, when someone cancels their account, you can actually start an automatic process in Triggre, like an automation flow. There's YouTube videos and knowledge-based articles on how to do that. You can start that and cancel their account so that, for example, you can block them so that they don't have access anymore. There's a default option to block a user. So that would be something to do that. So yes, you can definitely yourself determine how you can handle that. There's not sort of a predefined way. You're completely free to do that in any way that you like yourself. Okay, here. If I would have 10 users a month, only, let's see, only for a highly specialized app with not too much data, could you please give a price range per month? It really depends on how much actions that you use. So let me show you, let me explain this in more detail so that you all understand, I hope. In our pricing model, we talk about actions, and we've talked a little bit about flow parts. Now, these are all built-in ones, but let me make a custom one. So a flow part is a little process. I have a process. And in a process, you can do things. And I'll make a really simple thing. Let's say that we add data. So this process will add a task. Now, it won't do a lot. Description, specific text. Just as an example, a new task. Task. So what this would do, this is probably the simplest process that I could do. This process is one action. So if you basically would run this 10,000 times in a month, that would be 10,000 actions. So it depends a little bit on how much use you get from your application. So why did we do this? Well, we did this because, like the user says, I think his name is Paul. I'm going to call you Paul. If you're not Paul, I'm sorry. But if Paul says, like, look, I have 10 users, right? And they use they use the application day in, day out with a lot of calculations. They use more actions. But you can also say that I have maybe 1,000 users that only use maybe 2 or 3 actions when they use my application on average per month. So that sort of, those two models combine into the number of actions. So basically, if you take your 10 users and you give them more functionality, then you'll end up more. But 10 users using 1,000 actions per month can do a lot. I can tell you that. Like 1,000 actions like this is a lot of functionality that you can build. Yeah. So even if you start with like one of the step-in subscriptions, so the first ones, you can do a lot already. And you can actually try this out for free, right? So we have free accounts. The starter account It starts with 1,000 actions, but if you actually do the learning exercises in the platform, you actually amass more free actions that you can use. And you can see in my Triggre, you have in the dashboard platform, you have a overview of the actions per month, and then we have a estimation of the number of actions that you have based on extrapolation there. So you can see sort of whether what you do will amount to how many actions per user, for example. So you can check that for a day, or you click some things and you make an estimation for that for yourself without paying anything. This is why we offer that. So yeah, I would say that if you have that for a highly specialized app and it does a lot of work, you could probably already do it for the first one of $50. You can probably get started per month. Anonymous Ethany says, sorry, I couldn't attend the entire webinar. Well, good for you. It will be available on LinkedIn going on. I think we're streaming it everywhere. So you can definitely review the beginning. Our biggest selling point, Paul said that he's indeed Paul, which is good. You're welcome. What's your biggest selling point that makes Triggre better compared to other Lycos apps like ThinkWise? Well, Triggre is completely no code. So there is literally no code anywhere. What that means is that it's way easier to use. We do have, it also has a downside, if you want to call that. A downside is that it's very specific, right? So no pixel perfect user interface designs or things like that. But in terms of workflow processes, automatic processes, aggregating things in a single platform, for example, that's what many of our customers do. They aggregate that into Triggre to show it and use it, and that's what we're really good at. So if you want to build a website or a very fancy customer-facing app, then Triggre is not the application for you. If you want, however, the simplest way, quickest way to build an advanced application, then Triggre is what you need. So that's the biggest selling point, I would say. And as the question before, I'm not sure if you've heard that, but we do scale really well. So we have applications that, for example, one of our biggest customers actually uses Triggre for, I think they're now in 5 warehouses around the world, where they basically handle all of their shipping through Triggre, just to calculate prices. So that's an advanced app. Yeah, so that's a unique selling point. So these were the questions so far. If there's still questions, feel free to type them. I will see them. So no worries about that. But quickly to do this, we do have a partner program. So for those of you out there who are thinking like, hey, this is interesting, this whole multi-tenant thing, but I don't have that idea. I want to service my customers. We do have a partner program. And really how this works is the following. We have 3 levels of partner program. We have Explorer, Ranger, and Guide, which is basically how we'll teach you further and further how to build complex applications, and most importantly, how to service the customer correctly. So if you want to build for your customer, obviously the most important thing is to make sure that that it's a successful application for them. Because what we do is we actually provide leads to our partners. We work together with partners to provide leads. The third thing is that on subscriptions that run that partners service, you actually get commission. And we do that because we want you to build a recurring revenue as well. And also because when the customer is more successful, you are more successful and we are more successful. So sort of the customer determines, like we just answered with the actions questions, the customer really determines how much they use Triggre, where then you profit from that. Obviously, you can also charge your own time and material. We won't get in the way of that. But ultimately, it's more interesting to have multiple customers that sometimes ask you to help them, but they can also do things themselves, right? So this is where Triggre really shines. You can get your customers to do things themselves. Now, Ed, for example, worked on one of our customers' application, and he helped them, and they also do part of that thing themselves. I see that there's a question from YouTube that says, from Max, that says, can you have a cascading flow path? And how many actions can a flow path contain? A flow path can contain as many actions as fit on the screen. I don't think that there's a hard limit to that. If you jam them in there, I think it could be thousands. I'm definitely sure that I've made ones with hundreds of parts. And with cascading, you can't have where two things are executed at the same time in one flow path. So it's one path is executed at the same time, but you can have decisions that, for example, the task that we had, which has statuses, for example, you can make a decision point where you say like, okay, if it's in the status new, I do this. If it's in the status in progress, I do this. If it's in the status canceled, I do that, etc. So you can make those decisions, and you can have in flowparts there's an action which is called a repeat action, which is basically a loop. So you can say I have a list of tasks, and for each task I want to do this little process. You can make that too. So this is how you can do that. So there's no hard limit there on the number of actions that a flow path can contain. Hope that answers your question. Yeah, so if you want to if you're interested in becoming a partner, or if you are interested in getting your own application, we also have an offer. So I'll repeat that quickly here as well. So what we do is we help our customers on the way, and sometimes, or actually most of the times, this is partners to help us. So we have launch packages, and a launch package means the following. You buy a Triggre subscription for a certain price, and you get a setup realized by us or a partner in 2 days. And for that, we ask you to commit to a Pro 10,000 subscription, which costs €50 a month. For the people in the US, that is roughly right now 13% extra. That is about less than $60. So then the commitment that we ask is 1 year. So basically what you do is for 1 year, you get of paying €49 a month, or less than $60. I think it's like 55 or 57 right now with the exchange rate. You get 2 days of setup, which is basically €2,000 of a highly specialized person helping you out, setting up that first version of your application in no time. You get that for free, right? So that's a no-brainer. Now, if you're like, that airplane, that's not me. I am more like this one. I'm a Learjet. Same deal, but you get 4 days for the higher subscription, right? And what's better than a Learjet? Exactly, it's a jumbo jet. So you can also do the 6 days where you get 6 days of a partner's help to help you setting up that first application and get you underway. And the biggest one that we have, because obviously, you know, where would we be without Musk these days? We also have a rocket. You get 8 days. That's one of the higher subscriptions that we offer, which is a lot more money per month. But if you have a really good idea already, or for example, you've seen in your starter subscription, hey, this is something that I can build. This is an offer that we have. If you pay that per month, so you have a lot of actions, lots of actions. You now know what an action is, so it's a lot. Only 1 year commitment, right? So you don't pay that much, but you do save €8,000 because you actually get 8 days of implementation help from a partner of ours. So that's what we'll do. And if you want to talk about any of these things, we don't have an online where you can buy this or anything. This is just something that we offer here to you guys in the webinar. So it starts at the 49, right? You save up to 8,000 if you have one of the higher ones. You can scan this if you're on your phone. Scan it. It's a link to here, which you can also type. And that's an O, not a 0. Because, you know, these scripts, they generate these names automatically. So if you go here, what it does is allows you to set up a free call through our Calendly You can ask about this, so no pressure. You can just ask. It's for free. It's half an hour. You can ask anything you want about the deal, about the partner program. And the only thing that the link really does, yes, this package or PDF, we will definitely send it to the people that are in the webinar. That's a good call. I don't think that we have that automated, but I will make sure that that happens. So basically what we do is we'll look at whatever you want to do, partner program or an application. And if it's a fit for Triggre, if it's not, we'll also tell you, right? If you have some idea and we're like, look, that won't work with Triggre, you should use this. We don't want you to not be successful. So it's a really low level thing. So it's just a Calendly thing. And in the comments, it will say that you joined the webinar today. So that people that pick that up will know what is going on. So if you want to use that, go to this URL and you can either take the time to discuss what options you have to become a partner of Triggre, how that works with one of my colleagues, or you can say like, hey, cool, I have a really cool idea. Can I get this this discount there? So I don't think that other than the question to send the PDF, there's other questions right now. So go on. Do we have anything else that you want to discuss right now? I think I've kept it right within the hour as promised.
No, I think this is amazing, and I'm actually, I'm thrilled that you managed to like explain it in such a simple way. Like when we started with ads application, it was a bit of an overload when you see all the screens, but then when you build it like with pretty simple logic, like step by step, then I can really see it making something like that myself in like a couple days or weeks. So that's something that I think, was valuable for the viewers as well, definitely.
So for everyone who maybe doesn't have an account yet, just get a free account. You can play around with it. There's learning in Triggre that you can just, it's point and click, so it will make you click things and explain things. We have YouTube videos, we have knowledge-based articles, we have a community website where with your login, you can log in there, you can ask questions and we'll answer them. So there's all these things that you can just access for free to figure out whether this is for you. If it's not for you, also fine, like that is okay, that happens. So yeah, make sure that you try it out, and if you have certain questions, just schedule this call. You can talk about other questions that you have, obviously, as well. But make sure that you, if you do have an idea, even later on, just mention that, hey, I've had this. We'll send that PDF to you as well. We really want people to just check this out and see, indeed, like Owen said, how easily you can actually make advanced applications. There's also 25 templates that you can use that cover a whole range of use cases from, what is it, like order management, automatic proposal generation to there's task management, complaint management, like a whole host of things that you can also use as a starting point. So if one of those cases is sort of like close to what you want, right? You just use that for free and you build on top of that. You can even use that for your own SaaS. So don't worry about that. They're all sort of like, let's say free of IP because we built them for you. Yeah, thanks, Marta. She's the link there because yeah, in a video we couldn't do that. Well, everyone, thanks today for watching. You'll get that PDF of the World of Udi in your email as a link. And thanks, Regina. And hope to see you soon in one of the other webinars. Don't forget to check out Codemap because they have a really cool community of people. You may already know it. If you don't, if you come through us, definitely make sure that you check out Codemap. Yeah, we'll see you in a future live or webinar or whatever it is that Gordon and I come up with next.
Sure.
You're welcome, Linux. You're welcome. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.